Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven JavaScript video. I'm recording this on September 27th, 2012. And this episode starts a brand new chapter, and it's one that I know a lot of you are excited about. What we're going to do in this chapter is we're going to start doing test-driven development on the client. And because this is Let's Code test-driven JavaScript, we're not just going to do test-driven development, but we're also going to do it with a lot of automation, and we're going to do it cross-browser, cross-platform. We're going to bring in iOS, Safari. We're going to do it in a really rigorous way. It's going to be awesome. And not only are we going to do it all that cross-browser, cross-platform stuff, we're going to be running those tests all the time. So if we have anything break, we'll discover it right away. So I'm really looking forward to getting to that. Before we start it though, let me just remind you of where we're at. For those of you who are just coming in with this chapter, what we've just finished doing is writing a simple server that serves a marketing homepage. That was our first minimum marketable feature, was to serve a marketing homepage for WeWikiPaint. And here it is. If we go to wewikipaint.com, then we see a very, very basic marketing homepage. So I put in some rough marketing copy. It's been published to the internet. The DNS has been set up, so it is actually at wewikipaint.com. If you're curious, if you didn't see the previous episodes and are wondering how all that worked, check out the last chapter. The DNS stuff, though, I did offline. That's going to vary according to your DNS provider, and so that's something that I can't really help you with, although you're welcome to start a thread in the comments and ask for help or see if anybody has used your particular DNS provider. So this minimum marketable feature is done. Awesome. So now we need to get the client side. And one of the neat things about a minimum marketable feature is something that we can ship to customers that they'll get value out of, or that we'll get value out of them seeing in some way. Like this, I mean, the customers don't get a lot of value out of this, but we get value out of saying, hey, we're here. And if this was a professional, a real site, not just an example, then we might put in a sign up link or something like that. But so that has value. Now we need to make something, the next thing that will have value. And originally we thought, let's make a collaborative painting page. But as is typically the case for me when I'm working with minimum marketable features, I've let this sit for a while and I've come up with a way to make it marketable and smaller. So I can split this apart into just support, single user painting on homepage. And then we can do collaborative painting. Because if we ship just single user painting, that's something that people can play with here and have fun with, and that will increase the cachet of our WeWikiPaint application. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to work on single user painting on the homepage. We're going to do it all test driven, and of course this is going to be very client heavy stuff. So the first thing that we need to do, let's see, what is the first user story that we could do? I know what the first task I want to do is, and that is I want to get our client-side testing set up. But I don't know if that's a good user story, because a good user story really needs to be something that the business folks on the team will appreciate and prioritize. And I don't know that they would prioritize client-side testing, even though it's important, it doesn't have a benefit that they can really see or would be able to see if there were actually any on this team. So let's see. Well, while I'm thinking about that, I'm going to fix this error here, which is bugging me. There. Now we're green. We don't have any errors in here. Oh, speaking of green, let's make sure that we're clean here. Yeah, everything's passing. Okay, so I've been stalling. What should our first user story be? Well, I mean, I want to just say put a canvas on there. I guess our first user story is, yeah, let's demonstrate. Let's create a drawing area. Then let's, maybe after that we can draw one line. Those are things that would show progress. Now to do that, first we have to set up client-side testing. Then we have to actually test our test drawing tool. I'm thinking of using Raphael, which is a SVG drawing tool. Then of course we need to get this to the point where it actually integrates. We need to integrate it into our HTML page, which may take some additional work. Yeah. I think those are good things to do. So let's get to it. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to set up our testing framework. Now, there are a lot of client-side testing frameworks out there, but there are two that I particularly like. One I've had a lot of experience with, that's JS Test Driver. It's not got the prettiest website in the world, but it works really well. I used it last year pretty heavily for my Rubu project, which is sort of a single page app that had a lot of support, a lot of complex JavaScript in it. This here is using Raphael. So I know that JS Test Driver can work. The neat thing about JS Test Driver, and what I love about JS Test Driver, is that it is a command line tool that runs against multiple browsers simultaneously and without any particular setup on your part. If you're using something like QUnit or even Jasmine or Mocha, a lot of those tools, I'm not sure about Jasmine, but most of those tools are designed to be loaded in the browser. And the neat thing about JS Test Driver is it runs from the command line, which means it's very scriptable. Now, it has some problems though. It runs in Java, so it's quite slow to get started, and it can be flaky. It needs to be reset all the time. There is a successor to JS Test Driver called Testacular. And that is a somewhat unfortunate name because it just invites all kinds of junior high school humor, and you don't want to know what their old tagline was, the test runner with balls, just to drive the point home of what a great name this is. Anyway, despite the name, Testacular is pretty awesome. Some of the people who are working on Testacular are people who originally created JS Test Driver, and it uses NPM. It's much faster than JS Test Driver. It's not perfect, but it seems to be more stable than JS Test Driver as well. So that's what I'm going to try. I've not used Testacular yet. I have used JS Test Driver, and it's very good. And if we have too much trouble with Testacular, we can always fall back to JS Test Driver. Let's go ahead and get this started. Now, as I mentioned, there are a lot of other ways of running tests on the client side. QUnit is popular. That's from the jQuery folks. There's Mocha. There's Jasmine. But I like JS Test Driver and Testacular because of their automatability and because of their cross-platform characteristics. So let's get to it. To install Testacular, we need to run npm install Testacular. Now this does have a compiled component. So if you install Testacular, it will actually compile a local component. And that means that those of you who are downloading this code on Windows, you need to do an npm rebuild before this will work on your machine. So just be aware of that. You need to do an npm rebuild when downloading this. Also, when you check this in to Git, you want to make sure you don't check in the compiled pieces. So that's just something to be aware of. In fact, let's go ahead and add those compiled pieces to our gitignore file now. So we'll go into Node Modules and Testacular, see what we can see. Okay, I'm back. I found it. I did it the way I found it was I went over into Windows and I did a rebuild, and then I checked to see what had changed in Git. And what it was this, other than Windows making about a bunch of .cmd files, which is fine. What it was this build directory right here. So WeWikiPaint node modules, blah, 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 /build. So let's go ahead and modify our git ignore. Let's see. And take that out. There. Okay, and let's go ahead and, so we've got Testacular in here, I think. Let's see if we can run it. Yes, there's running. So let's go ahead and add it. And let's go ahead and make a little script to make sure this, oops. Let's go ahead and make a little script to make sure this works. I could link it in, but I'm going to just do it with a testacular.shell file instead. And the reason is just so the people on Windows can see what's going on more easily. And so that needs to be node modules /bin testacular everything. And we'll make that executable. So now we should be able to say Testacular. Awesome. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for Windows folks. And this, of course, is going to be like that, I believe. And let's go ahead and check that in. And I'm going to run over to Windows real quick. We'll come back to that. And we will do a git pull. And we'll run Testacular. And that failed. But now let's do our npm rebuild. And there it works. Don't forget to do that npm rebuild. Okay, so we've got Testacular running. Next, we'll actually make it do stuff. So thanks for watching, everybody. That's what we're going to do next time. Let me go ahead and, I had a suggestion which I thought was really great. At the end of each episode, the suggestion was that I update the to-do list. So yeah, let's, next we're going to get Testacular running manually with one browser. And then after that, we'll get to multiple browsers. And then after that, we'll get to automation. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.